Hello and welcome back to the Champions League Challenge on Football Manager 2022, where we are in charge of Steaua Bucharest in the top tier of Romania. After the elation of qualifying for the qualifying stages of the Europa Conference League, we headed into our 8th season with Steaua, hoping to have a decent European run and to qualify for European competition again. We had a quieter summer transfer window than last season, as there were only 4 permanent departures and 4 new signings. Young right-back Nico Dinu moved to FC Puciosa for £27,500 after not making a single appearance for us. We said goodbye to right-winger Denis Radu, who left us after 2 seasons to move on to Steaua Bucharest for a £50,000 fee. His contract was expiring and this deal gave us a decent profit. After making more appearances last season than in his previous 2 combined, Spanish striker Marc Barrahan left us to move to Spanish Segunda Division side Baracaldo for £70,000, as his contract was also up at the end of the season. And it looked like that would be all of the sales for the summer until United Arab Emirates based side Khor Fakkan showed an interest in Dutch striker David Min and offered a mind-blowing £425,000 for his services, meaning there was pretty much no option but to let him go. I couldn't reject a $425k offer, so Min was out the door. Now for the signings. And our first piece of business was to secure the loan contract of last season's young player of the season, Ion Cipercha, and centre midfielder Claudio Dragan, given how well they performed last season. Even before Barrahan and Min left us, I thought we needed a better backup option up front, so I signed 28-year-old Romanian striker Catalin Magarianu on an end of contract from UTA Arid. Catalin ended up making 21 appearances for us this season, albeit 18 were from the bench, and scored 4 goals, grabbing 1 assist, a pretty helpful contribution for a bench warmer. Next up was the signing of Welsh international Matt Smith. No, not that one. You can tell by his hair that he isn't a Targaryen. He was signed for £83,000 from Hull City to add more depth to centre midfield as one of our 4 allowed non-EU players. Smith was solid when called upon this season, making 31 appearances, including 14 from the bench, and had 3 goal involvements across the season, including 1 goal. We then splashed out £115,000 to UTA Arid to sign their French winger Mohamed Brahimi as added depth across right wing, left wing and up front. With 28 games under his belt this season, including 13 starts, he showed glimpses of class with 6 goal involvements and an average rating of 7, but his season was curtailed several times as he picked up little knocks throughout the season and a major hip injury with 4 games to go, which ruled him out for the remainder of the season. And finally for incomings, we signed Portuguese fullback Ruka from Liga Portugal side Rio Ave for £35,000. We've been looking for a decent backup for Ibrahim Traore at right back for a while, and Ruka fit that mould perfectly, making 14 starts across the season with a solid average rating of 6.91. As mentioned in the last episode, the board improved our youth recruitment, youth facilities and junior coaching budget. However, this was not all they improved. I also requested that they improve training facilities. They agreed, and we now have the best training facilities in the league. Another improvement they made was to the subscribe button. They made this 10 times more clickable. Ahead of the start of the season, we were given our usual domestic expectations from the board of avoiding relegation and reaching the 6th round of the Romanian Cup. But for the first time, of course, we had a European competition expectation. This was to reach the 3rd qualifying round of the Europa Conference League, which I thought was a pretty achievable goal, depending on our draw. Following a pre-season of winning 4 out of our 5 friendlies, we started the season with a convincing 4-0 win over Universitatea Craiova, which included a brace from a man you'll hear a lot about this season, Ameth Diatta. It was then time for our first foray into Europe as we headed to Cyprus to face Apollon Limassol in the first leg of our Europa Conference League 2nd qualifying round tie. Uros Madakovic gave us an early lead with what turned out to be our goal of the season with a beautifully placed finish from the edge of the box, but the home side equalised late on to make it 1-1 in the end. There was the small task of facing last season's league champions Farol Constanța 3 days later, and the travel must have taken it out of us as we lost 2-0 at home. We managed to recover from that defeat in time for the 2nd leg against Apollon Limassol and handily beat them 2-0 to advance to the 3rd qualifying round. Our next league game was against FCSB away from home, and we were on Dream Street as Ameth Diatta scored 4 goals in a demolition of our local rivals. We started August with a narrow victory over Croatian side Osijek in the Conference League, with Nick Twisk getting a late winner from an assist from a debuting Brahimi. We followed that up with a solid 4-2 home win over Academica Clincini, and we had all of the momentum heading into the second leg against Osijek, which of course means we ended up losing, falling to a 3-1 defeat in Croatia and ending our first European journey very early in the season. And this result must have affected the players, as we only picked up 2 points from our final 3 league games of August, drawing against Cluj and Gazmetan Medias and losing narrowly to Dynamo. After a much-needed international break, we got back to winning ways with a 2-1 win over UTA Arid and a 4-0 win at home to FC Arges, sending us up to 4th in the league table. FCSB were our next challenge in a very tough 5th round tie in the Romanian Cup, and it looked like our chances of making the semi-finals for the 3rd year in a row were disappearing as we trailed 1-0 heading into the final few minutes of the game. That was until that man, Ahmed Diatta, stepped up with a spot kick and sent us to extra time. The game ended up going all the way to penalties, and we won thanks to Tomaniga saving George Ganea's penalty. Newly promoted Progressel Spartak were a much easier opponent who we beat 3-0, and following this match, the board approached me to discuss a 3-year contract extension, which I obviously signed. Come on, the Steaua. You might have thought this would lift the players to a good performance in the following game, but instead we ended September with a 1-0 defeat at home to 8th placed Sepsi. We took a little while to get going again after the October international break, losing 3-1 to Botasani and only managing a 0-0 draw with struggling Chindia Targovishta, thanks in part to Claudio Dragan getting sent off. But a 6th round cup tie against second tier Astra Gurgu got us back to winning ways, as Rafael Pereira and Ahmed Diatta helped us to a 2-0 win and advanced us to the quarterfinals. The month ended with us beating city rivals Rapid 2-0 despite Dragan getting sent off again. November began with a convincing 4-1 win over Politehnica Timisoara, but that would be the only bright point of the month, as we lost twice to Universitatea Craiova, once in the league and once in the quarterfinals of the cup. There was a 0-0 draw with Faro Constanta sandwiched between those 2 games, but we didn't play too well in that one either. The festive season was almost upon us, and Santa Claus was being kind to us as we went unbeaten in the month. We started December with Ahmed Diatta scoring hat-trick as we beat FCSB 3-1. Zipedro scored one of his classic free kicks to beat Cluj 1-0, and Diatta was the only scorer in a 1-0 home win over Gazmetan Medias, and Gianni Nzete saved our blushes by getting the equaliser in a 1-1 draw with lowly Academica Clincini in the final game before the winter break. There wasn't any action in the transfer market for us during the January window. The only signing we tried to make was Ion Chipurcha on a permanent deal, as his contract was coming up, but he decided to accept the offer from his parent club instead, saying that we didn't offer him enough wages. We didn't have the best restart after the break, losing 1-0 to Dynamo, but turned things around in the next 3 games as we demolished UTA Arid 6-2, with Diatta getting another hat-trick and Medakovic scoring a brace. A 3-1 win over Progressel Spartak and a 2-1 win at FC Arges meant we ended January 3rd in the table. Old habits died hard though in our game against Sepsi as we threw away a 2-goal lead to lose 3-2, but we were soon back into the swing of things with a 3-0 win against Botasani to maintain our 3rd place in the league. A 1-1 draw with Rapid and a 1-0 win over Politehnica Timisoara ended February, but those results were overshadowed by an injury to key man Ahmed Diatta, who suffered sprained ankle ligaments during the Rapid game and would miss the next 4 weeks of action. At this point, I thought our season was going to crumble. Our final game of the opening stage of the Liga 1 season was against Chindia Targovishta at the start of March, and the lads helped to subside any fears I had of us falling away without Diatta as we beat them 4-2 to confirm our 2nd, 3rd place finish in a row in the opening stage of the league. In last season's Champions playoff, we had a terrible time winning only 2 of our 10 games, and it looked like we were going to struggle again when we lost our opening game 2-1 away to Dynamo. My confidence was low ahead of our next game against what you could call our bogey team for the season, Universitatea Craiova, but we somehow managed a 2-0 win which kept us in 3rd in the table. We then went on a 6-game winning streak as we beat FC Arges 2-1 thanks to an Ahmed Diatta brace. He's back. We smashed FCSB yet again, 5-1 this time with Ahmed Diatta grabbing another brace, and we beat Dynamo 3-1. During the winning streak, we had a huge clash against Faro Constanta. Now, heading into this game, they were top of the table and we were just 2 points behind them in 2nd. We knew a win would take us to the top of the table with 4 games left to play. Things got off to a great start as Ahmed Diatta opened the scoring just before half-time, And they got even better as Diatta doubled his tally with just over 10 minutes to go and confirmed the 2-0 win and put us 1 point clear at the top. The pressure was on. We knew we had to at least match every result Farrell Constanta had for the rest of the season, and knew we had to play them again in a few games' time. I wasn't sure how the side would cope with this new form of pressure, but early signs were good as we beat both Universitatea Craiova and FC Arges 1-0 to maintain first place. We had 2 games to go. We were 1 point clear of our next opponents, and we knew that victory would secure the league title. Could we do it? Could we keep our nerve and handle the pressure to deliver our first league title and qualify for Champions League qualifying for the first time? No, we got battered 3-0. The pressure was too much. We had pretty much thrown away our chance of securing the title. We headed into the final game of the season knowing that we needed Farrell Constanta to lose and we needed to win. We were facing FCSB, who had confirmed 3rd place, and Farrell Constanta were facing 6th placed FC Arges. FC Arges gave us hope as they took the lead against Constanta after 15 minutes. That hope increased as Ameth Diatta opened the scoring for us on the 18th minute and sent us to the top of the table. Could the impossible happen? We stayed top for less than a minute as Farrell Constanta equalised against Arges. We were given a tiny bit of hope when FC Arges drew their game level at 2-2 just before half-time, but Constanta grabbed a third and we ended up conceding a late equaliser against the FCSB, meaning Farrell Constanta had won, and in doing so, won the league title for the 2nd year in a row. As much as it was disappointing to throw away our position at the top of the table, we've shown growth this season, managing to win a tie in Europe and finishing 1 position higher than last season. And if we can do that again next season, we'll be champions. And let's not forget, we've qualified for Europa Conference League qualifying for the 2nd consecutive season. One man who deserves the biggest shout out is Ameth Diatta. He scored 30 goals this season. That's the most of any Steaua player in modern history. He won Fans Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, 3 Player of the Month awards, and matched the record for most Player of the Match awards won by a Steaua player. We also need to give a bit of respect to Johnny Nzete, who matched the record for the most assists by a Steaua player in a season with 13. So well done to both of those youngsters. The future does look bright with those two in the team. Looking ahead to next season, we should get some more money to spend as we need to strengthen the side even more to make it into the group stage of the Conference League. And I would ideally like to hold on to our talented youngsters like Diatta and Nzete, but if a massive offer comes in, I might change my mind. We might cash in on some of our older players. I know Jeremy Van Mullen's been attracting the interest of a rich Middle Eastern side. Our youth intake this season was better than last, but there weren't any superstars to mention. But that is it for this season. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please give this video a like if you have, and we will be back with our 2nd season in European competition next time. Thanks for watching.